So how does this affect us? Well, going back to my life as a physician, Hippocrates was quoted as saying, "Let your food be your medicine, let your medicine be your food." Now, I had 4 years of medical school at Duke. How many classes on nutrition do you think I had? None. Yeah, it never came up. Sorry. But, and not to say that we don't teach great medicine at Duke. We do teach great medicine, but the medicines we're talking about most commonly come from really smart, really bright, really committed, passionate people in our pharmaceutical industry. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and say that pharmaceutical companies are all bad. They're not. But there's got to be balance. And when I can go every week and get a free drug company lunch with the latest and greatest being, that my patients need to know about, but I've not even really had a chance to consider the fact that we actually are supposed to live here on this planet, and we're supposed to be eating food, and we're supposed to be living a certain way, that's kind of off. And I highly recommend this book called The China Study by T. Colin Campbell. And the interesting thing about this book, The China Study, is this gentleman who wrote this book is a nutritionist and a biochemist who has done the single largest epidemiologic study linking diet and chronic disease. It was done in partnership with the University in Beijing and the Chinese government. It started back in the 1980s. And they literally tracked across the country over thousands and thousands of people in decades. They tracked the migration of rural Chinese peasants into the urban centers, and they tracked the gradual westernization of the Chinese population. What he found, what the data shows, is that when you've got folks living in the rural hinterlands who are scraping their living and their food out of the dirt, they're not living an easy life. And they are extremely vulnerable to what he calls diseases of poverty. These are diseases that are infectious. It's tuberculosis, it's infections, it's things that really result from your body not being strong enough to fight off the assaults that we're all tasked with on a daily basis. But when we start to see the wealth and the creation of these big urban centers and the westernization of the Chinese diet, all of a sudden, for the first time in Chinese history, you see the growth of diseases of affluence. And these are diabetes, obesity, heart disease, degenerative diseases like macular degeneration, Alzheimer's, things that result from having an excess of, in some cases, just either not good nutrition, too many calories, or calories plus a lot of free radicals that are just really wreaking havoc on your body's DNA. So there's a pretty good argument in here that we should pay a lot more attention to our 3 meals a day than our 3 pills a day, right? So if you want to do that, and here's some quick illustrations. It's no secret that diabetes is going up, overweight and obesity is going up. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I mean, 20 to 74 years of age in the United States, 2005 to 2006, 70% of Americans are considered overweight. That's kind of crazy. And what are we doing? Well, we're taking a lot of drugs, legal drugs, mind you. Going from 38 to almost 50% of Americans taking 1 drug a day to 3 or more drugs from 13 to 20% over the past 20 years. That's survey data from the CDC. So we're trying, but the drugs aren't doing it, right? Because the diseases are going up, and the cost, my gosh. Who isn't concerned about the rising cost of healthcare? But is it really healthcare at all if all we're concerned about is how do we afford these 3 drugs a day, right? So, pop quiz. This is called a nutrient circle. You got major minerals, trace minerals, other amino acids, vitamins. The blue arrows here represent the amount in one case, refined flour, and in another case, whole wheat. Left or right, which one do you think is whole wheat? The right, exactly. So if you're eating whole wheat, you're getting these vitamins, you're getting these major minerals, you're getting these trace minerals. If you're eating flour, you're not. So what we eat, people say elections matter, diet matters too. But what if we even try to eat healthy? What's been going on to the food shed that's putting food in our grocery stores today? This was a landmark study that came out in 2004 by Dr. Donald Davis, and he tracked USDA data over 50 years looking at 43 garden crops just coming out of the U.S. commercial agricultural system. And he found that you had declines in nutrients anywhere from 10 to 40% in the case of riboflavin. So if you look at the food that we're even getting at the grocery store, it's not the same food we were getting 50 years ago. So I come back with a very simple conclusion. We understand there's a problem with our system. We understand that we're under threat. We have a lot of things to worry about. But If you want to take back your health, Obamacare is one problem, but your food is another problem. So we need to be focused as individuals and as communities on seeking local, whole, fresh, and nutrient-dense food. Now, what do I mean by nutrient-dense food? Right now, food is, you buy it by the pound. What we care about is mass. We don't really know and haven't been taught to think about what's inside it. I'd encourage you to just go online and look up High-Brix Gardens, or BRIX. Now, there's a famous soil scientist by the name of Kerry Reams who pioneered this idea, and he's not the only person to do this, but he basically looked at a system of agriculture that's focused on nourishing the soil, putting the right environment in the soil to nourish healthy plants, to produce healthy food, to produce healthy people. What a concept. It's kind of radical, I know, but the idea is that if you measure the sap of a plant or the fruit, and you look at the index of refraction, the amount that light is bent in that food, you actually have a very good indicator of the nutrient density of that food. So this is a refractometer, and there's a scale. You put the sap on the end, you look through it, and it gives you a number. And that number determines how nutrient dense, how good that food is for your body. Here's an interesting, there are people that really go, they're just going to extremes on this. So these are High-Brix tomatoes. These are fresh out of the garden. These have been stored at room temperature for 14 months. They're a little lighter. Some of the antioxidants that give the tomato its color have degraded, but you can still eat that. It's still healthy. No refrigerator, no bugs, no mold. It's not, but it's because it's nutrient-dense food. It has everything within it to fight off the attacking fungi and the attacking bacteria and the things that would beat down that vegetable. If you're eating nutrient-dense food after 14 months, wouldn't you feel better looking like that than after a week of having a rotten, smelly tomato? So, High-Brix foods, by definition, they've got greater carbohydrate levels, greater mineral density, much better taste. Oh, and by the way, they're naturally insect and disease resistant. So when we started gardening and following this approach last summer, we began to realize that, wow, the healthier plants we have, we don't need insecticides. It's not because we're trying to go organic, but the plants do pretty well. Here's a more practical example, just right, there we go. So here, this again is from the High-Brix Gardens website. Grocery store green beans, garden green beans. And these guys, this laboratory actually did an assay to look at the actual nutrient content of these beans. Now here you have the USDA column. The USDA says, on average, a green bean that you buy in the grocery store should have 1.8 grams of protein, 37 milligrams of calcium. They go down the list. The store-bought green bean was very much in line with the USDA profile. They're supposed to have 1.8 grams of protein. The store-bought green bean had 1.76, and that's with a Brix reading of 4.2. So 4.2 Brix gave you 1.76 grams of protein. The 6.1 Brix, which is not even excessive, that's just 2 logs, it's a logarithmic scale, so it's 2 orders of magnitude better, has 3.34 grams of protein in it. And look at the iron. 1.3 milligram versus 2.1 milligrams. Zinc, 0.72 milligrams, 2.3 milligrams. We are what we eat. If we eat good food, we can do more for our bodies than any pill they can possibly throw at us. So I simply leave this in closing, that we're all concerned about what's going on. We're concerned about this, whoops, exponential ramp. We're concerned about $23 trillion or whatever the magic number is in bailouts. I mean, come on. These are astronomical numbers, right? Astronomy doesn't have numbers this big. These aren't real numbers. And we're thinking, okay, how do I hedge? What is it? Is it deflation? Is it inflation? Is it gold? Is it silver? I would simply suggest that a well-diversified portfolio should include a significant amount of real assets, and of those real assets that I consider important, food, air, and water are pretty critical. So plant your garden. Get out there, have fun, and let's start realizing that when we start growing our own food, understanding what it takes to eat a healthy diet, and then start supporting, most importantly, supporting and encouraging local producers. I mean, here we're talking about 500 square feet of box gardens. That was more than we could deal with a lot of the stuff we were pulling out of the garden. But the most important lesson was not that we were able to stop buying vegetables at the grocery store. The most important lesson was that we were put in touch with an entire network of people who are beginning to understand this, and beginning to understand how important it is that we have good, robust local suppliers and a good, strong local economy that's nourished by the production of real, tangible goods and services. which is at the end of the day we should all strive for as free Americans. Thank you very much, and look forward to continuing this.